Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Aaron. I'm head of enterprise marketing here at Juniper, and I'm here with John Orbe, who's our head of strategic verticals. John, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be here.
Yeah, so we want to talk about this new act called the CARES Act. It's getting a lot of attention right now. And so, John, being one of the resident experts at Juniper, I'd love to get your take on it. So, what does CARES stand for, and what is it being used for?
Yeah, exactly. It's an acronym for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. It's an approved bill legislature from the U.S. government. It was approved at the end of March, went into force beginning of April. It's basically $2.2 trillion allocated for individuals, businesses, and industries that are experiencing economic challenges due to the pandemic. The document is 880 pages and extremely comprehensive.
And I'm sure you've read it all, right, John?
I've read quite a bit of it, not
Yeah,
all.
enough to know what matters. And so obviously this is focused on coronavirus and the pandemic. So that explains the question, why is it interesting now? But who is applicable? Is it for schools? Is it for other types of entities, for government? Who can apply for this and get some of the funds?
Yeah, the interest now particularly is the focus on reopening. So getting our economy going again, getting schools back into the fall semesters, getting going again. So the act, from a vertical standpoint, applies to the education sector, both K-12, higher ed institutions, also state and local government, as well as hospitals as some of the primary verticals that are at the leverage point of benefiting from the CARES Act.
Are there any specific restrictions as to who or who may not be able to apply?
Not really. The Act allocates 31 billion to education. Those are both K-12 and higher ed, almost the same amount to both. Higher ed institutions are mandated to provide half of the funds back to students. This is to reimburse items such as room and board, tuition, and so forth due to the remote learning that then took on in the spring semester. There are additional funds allocated specifically to government, both state and local government, and it's based on the population of that state and its percentage of population for the U.S.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, how would an institution like a school or a local government, how do you apply for it?
It varies state by state. The education funds are available through June of 2021. The state and local government funds that are available for state government, county, city government are available through December of 2020. The application process varies state by state,
Yeah.
But basically the entity, whether it's a school district, a university, a city, a county, a state, basically puts together a business justification for the funds that they need and why they're needed. In most cases, we haven't witnessed any pushback on the use of the funds. The intent is any disruption that occurred to any one of these entities effective March with the coronavirus is an eligible item for consideration. It can be for PPE, protective environment. The Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education calls out prioritizing funding for education around remote learning, enabling remote learning, and also enabling telehealth capabilities.
Okay. And so that's a good lead into a little bit to why Juniper matters, right? So obviously we have solutions for remote learning, at least for supporting the network on the remote site, whether it's on the schools or administrators. We have also solutions for things like in support of contact tracing, proximity tracing and location mapping and congestion alerting when kids do come back to campus. Do you have some examples of some Juniper customers that have actually been able to apply and get CARES funding to help purchase and or deploy some solutions?
Correct. Definitely the funds are allocated for technology to enable education at home or enterprise at home. A very strong and unique Juniper Mist solution that leverages the Bluetooth technology, as well as proximity tracing. Both of these items are significant elements of the CARES Act and can be reimbursed, if you will, or paid for through the CARES Act. A couple of examples, three of them actually. In the state of Oklahoma, the Central IT organization called OMES has used the CARES Act funding for a refresh of their statewide network. This was due to the fact that with all the remote workers experiencing significant usage of the network, it was creating a stress situation of the network. So the state chose to revise and refresh the network. Another example is a university in North Carolina, Winston-Salem State University. They chose to deploy our BT11 Bluetooth access points to enable proximity tracing throughout the campus to ready themselves to bring students back to campus for face-to-face and remote learning opportunities. So they're basically implementing a hybrid approach. And then finally, a university in Texas, the University of Texas Arlington, is deploying our primary access point, the AP41, across the campus to enable more face-to-face classroom instruction, also to identify areas of high congestion, cafeterias, student unions, areas where there's a certain maximum number of individuals that would be in place. And they are going to leverage, again, our proximity tracing solution to basically create a safe environment, which is specifically why the CARES Act was enabled.
Great. Well, it sounds like there's quite a bit of use cases, especially using Juniper technology. It sounds like there's definitely funding out there from the CARES Act. So, John, any last bit words of wisdom or advice for anyone that's seeking to take the next step to take advantage of the CARES funds?
Yes, exactly. I would strongly suggest that clients that are exploring the CARES Act and how to leverage it to provide a safe environment for students, citizens, and employees to reach out to the Juniper team and engage our specialist team for strategic verticals. There are practice leaders for each of these different areas, education, a K-12 practice leader, higher education practice leader, the state and local government practice leader, as well as our practice leader for healthcare. Each of them have particular insight into solutions for their sector, as well as a good understanding of the different facets of the CARES Act, how to apply for it, how to put together the proper business case, and to leverage these funds to provide a safe environment for their constituents.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, John. This was extremely informative for me. Learned a lot about how the CARES Act can help and how to take advantage of it. For those that want information, you can go to juniper.net. There is a link off there to learn more about contact tracing, or an easy URL you can also remember is mist.com/contact-tracing. And you can learn more about our solutions there. And as John mentioned, there's ways to get in contact with his team and the rest of the Juniper folks. So thanks again for joining me, John.
Thank you, Jeff, very much.
And we'll talk to everyone soon.